Okay. So, first off, can everybody hear me? Good? Okay. Um, I don't know if we'll have everybody today, so I'll admit people as they pop up. I'm assuming if they wanted to show up to the review, they will. If not, I guess they won't. But decent turnout, so thank you all very much. First things first, does anyone have any questions for me before we get to the review? Anyone need me to do anything for them? I try to go through almost daily to try and find out if you have anything um, missing or if you need me to up quiz scores because of the programming. So I try to keep track of that almost daily, if not weekly. Um, I think I do have one from that came in late last night that I need to go in and fix after classes today. But I do try to keep up to date on that for you guys. If you noticed, I did do individualized emails for you this week. I'm going to try and do that for you as much as possible. If not every week, then hopefully every other week. I do want you guys to feel that I'm here for you guys as much as humanly possible with us being online. Um, and hopefully you feel that way. Hopefully you feel supported. Other than that, so any quick questions or any quick concerns that you want to start the class out with?
I was the one who emailed you last night. Is there something that I should not pay attention to then,
Uh,
as we're going?
no, I mean I just haven't. If you email me about a quiz, I just haven't had time to go in and fix it. I don't think yet.
No,
Um,
I got the access to the Pearson.
oh yeah, yeah. No, today we're gonna go over your exam review. So um, that was outside of Pearson. So, all right. As you guys can see, I have a really great whiteboard behind me now that we'll have on Mondays and Wednesdays, and it doesn't fall on my head because I'm actually um, in a Sylvan Center, which is great. Sylvan is one of my other jobs, and they've kind of reopened the doors, and I needed to get out of the house a little bit. So no one else is here right now, so I'm allowed to use the whiteboard. But if you guys decide that you want me to try to write um, on the screen share, that's more than fine. We can just keep using the Zoom whiteboard. I do have a question. Did you guys all get the review? So do you need me to use it on screen share today, or can we go with the old-fashioned whiteboard? I can do either, obviously, but if someone is missing um, the questions, then obviously it would be harder to maybe see it. But regardless, let's go ahead and dive into this. I am really quickly going to take a snippet of the list so I can do my um, really? Did I just do that? I guess I did. For the attendance, and then we'll be good to go. Uh, Also, if you guys are having any trouble getting into Pearson, um, I obviously, not everyone is in the same financial situation as other people are, especially in today's craziness. So if you need anything, I'm pretty sure the school is offering some assistance. I just don't know every detail about it, but if you need anything, just reach out. And I have tried to help people as I can, contacting those who can help us. Um, all right, so the way we're going to work this is we will go as far as we can with the review until we get to until we probably get to about what, like 12:15. And then if we have any questions that we haven't gotten to by 12:15 and you really feel they are necessary or that you would rather go over them than something else, then please let me know and I will skip ahead to those questions, okay? All right, so first question wasn't fantastic. I apologize. I, of course, made these, um, most of them out of the top of my head, unless I chose to Google, but obviously this kind, um, I just went ahead and made. And of course, much like everything else with life, can everybody see it? I'll go down the board. Okay. Um, Life doesn't work out perfectly, neither does math whenever you pull it out of your noggin and not from somebody who's sitting there doing all of the pre-thinking. So I do have a secondary example that will get us a better solution, but right now I want us to go over this one and talk about it. So what's the first thing you would do?
Distribute.
Distribute. Good deal. So we're going to distribute to get rid of these parentheses. We're going to get 30x plus 50. And what should you guys notice right away? Before you even do anything else, what should you notice? Ouch. Anybody?
Is it that they both have 30x?
Right, so if they both have 30x, what do you think is going to happen to your x's?
They're gonna cancel out.
Right, they're going to cancel out. So when you go to combine them, no matter which direction you go, they're going to cancel out completely. When that happens, you have to look at what's left. So you drop down your 50 and you drop down your minus 15. Does 50 equal negative 15? No, that's a false statement. So since it is false, we have no solutions. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that entirely. We have no real solutions. Okay? And we're going to talk about what that means in a couple of chapters. But if you run into a situation like this, it is perfectly legal to have a situation like this because we are human beings and humans do not always make the most perfect problems up. But regardless, that would be how you would solve this problem. I do have a secondary problem that I could show you that has a better solution, that actually has a number solution, if you guys want to see that. It's a little bit closer to what's on the test. So, but this is the general setup. You distribute and then you combine, and then obviously you should get a solution. Make sense? Okay. Do you guys need to see the other one, or do you think you're okay with this one? You're okay with the process and then what should happen?
I have a quick question. Why don't you, I know with like slope, we would usually like divide the 50 over the 50. Why aren't we like dividing in this case? Is it because like it would give us a weird decimal because you can't obviously divide 15 by 50?
Because we have no variable left.
Oh, okay.
Since we canceled out our variables, you could go ahead and do your subtraction or your addition, but either way, you're going to end up with a false statement because negative 65 isn't equal to 0 and 65 wouldn't be equal to 0. So whether
Alright.
you stop here or you make the next statement, you're still going to have a false statement. So this is where you can end and realize that you have solutions, but they're not real solutions. So for the case of this exam, it wouldn't really be on it. But if you came across a situation like this in the future, you would say no real solutions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so if you're good with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to the second question. Oh no. Apparently, I have to use a lot of elbow grease to get my marker clean. That's all right. It's not my rag. So, all right. So if we're gonna go with 2, so we're gonna have 8 times the quantity of y minus 3 equals 10y minus 8. All right. So pretty similar to last time. In fact, I guess I didn't even need to make my other example up because this is rather similar to it. So what's our first step here?
Distribute.
Great. Yep. We're going to go ahead and distribute. 8 and y will give us 8y. 8 and a negative 3 will give me what?
Negative 20. Sorry.
No, you're good. On review days, you guys can just shout out. I'm going to hear you, so it's all right. Okay, so now what are we doing?
Combine your y. Or, yeah, so subtract your 10 from your right side to put it on the left.
Sure, we can keep that approach, and that's probably a good approach to do for this test because you are going to have inequalities on it. And when you have inequalities, you want to keep your variable on that left-hand side. So we're going to get rid of that. So we'll have negative 2y equals to what? 24 minus 8 will give us what?
16.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your y should be negative 8. Okay. I'll give you guys a second to write that down if you need to. And if you don't need to, do you guys have any questions on the approach we took for this one? Okay. If you guys were to draw this line, how would you do it? What kind of line would it be?
Horizontal.
Yep, it'll be a straight line. And it'll be at y equals negative 8. So no matter what your x value is, you're always going to get a negative 8 out. Okay, very good. Excellent job. Does everybody have it? We're good? Cool. Okay, hopefully you guys are getting these right if you did them beforehand. Okay, so the next one we're gonna do is slope. And again, I apologize, our slope ended up looking pretty weird because I just pulled these numbers from basically nowhere. I just pulled them, yes, out of the number line. So remember, we have change in something over change in something else. So what goes where?
It's change in y over change in x.
Very good. Okay. So hopefully I can just keep going there and you guys can see that. So our y value, which one do you want to put down first?
$20.
Sure, we can put 20 down. If we put 20 down, what do we have to make sure we put down first on the bottom?
-3.
Very good. Okay. So when we put 20 down, that lets us have a negative followed by a negative. All right. So then there's most of your slope. And then we're just going to clean it up a little bit. So negative negative makes that sign what?
Positive.
Positive. Very good. All right, so we're going to have a positive there. So 20 plus 75 will give us what?
95.
95. Very good. And then -3 minus 5.
-8.
-8. Okay. Is that everything the problem wanted? Did we do our job and we're done and we don't have to do anything else?
No.
No. Okay, we have to now find our B because they want the whole line. Now, this is where I apologize to you guys because I made a pretty gross problem, but that does not mean we cannot solve it. Okay, so I went ahead and I used the point 20 -3 because then I would be working with smaller numbers. And I put the negative with the 95. You, of course, don't have to. You could use the other one. -3 times a -95 is going to give me 285 over 8. And then what do we do? Then we have to do something gross, don't we? A little bit gross.
Isn't it dividing the numbers by 20?
Kind of. So unfortunately, we have a really gross problem here. So what we're gonna have to do is we'll probably use our calculators to get basically an approximate answer. But we have to take 20 and subtract our fraction from it. So let's do that.
Can you put the camera a little bit down? I can see like the bottom part.
Mhm. Is that good? Yeah. Okay, so if we take 20 and subtract the 285 divided by 8, we will get a fraction. And then when I make that decimal into a fraction, we're actually going to get B equals -125 over 8. So I can tell you that your answer on the exam will be a little bit nicer. You won't have to do it. It won't be as gross.
Was there any reason that we were supposed to keep it in a fraction, or could I have written it as a decimal?
You guys can do your answers however you like. I always check for your. So for me to keep it into a fraction, it's just my preference. I don't have to worry about any kind of rounding issues or anything like that. But for you guys, even if you put a fractional or decimal equivalent answer on the program, I always go in and make sure that your answer was equivalent. And as long as it was equivalent, I give you all the points. I don't really care. The program does care. So it's just my weird personal preference to keep it with fractions. But sometimes the program asks for fractions and sometimes they ask for decimals. On the exam, you can give me either or because I'm going to make sure that it's equivalent. The only issue that then would be if I have to tell you why it's not equivalent. But if I can see like if you rounded, so I'm able to see that. So I try to be pretty much as lenient as possible. But yeah, that was just personal preference there. you could have left it as the decimal. The other thing too is if you're gonna do the b as a decimal, then you should also do your slope as a decimal. And in most cases, conventionally, people don't like seeing slopes as a decimal. But I would also give it to you as an equivalent answer. Okay. Everybody cool on this problem? Know how to do it? You feel all right with it? Great. Okay. Let's kind of get you guys back up. All right. So for number 4, sometimes people just want to forget these kind of problems, but they're way easier than they look. And my extreme suggestion with all of you guys is don't leave something blank. I give so many points. If you have any kind of idea of what to do, go ahead and just try it, because the worst thing that's going to happen to you is I find a way to give you some points. If you leave it blank, I can't give you points for blank. Okay? All right. So what is our technique going to be to find our x and y intercepts here?
Would it be to get y by itself?
So we could take that approach. We could solve it for y, get it into y equals mx plus b, and then we could graph it, and we could see where they both hit on the x-intercepts. What's another approach?
Can you set both your variables to equal 0 to solve for the other?
Yep, and that would be the suggestion I would make for this one, because then we wouldn't have to worry about graphing. So if we plug 0 in for x, then we're going to solve for y. Okay, this goes away. We divide both sides by -8. So then y equals what?
3.
So that gives us a point of 0, -3. So that's one of them. And we're done with that. And then if we plug in the opposite, we plug in 0 for y now. That one's going to go away. We divide by 4. What's our x going to be?
6.
So we get the point 6, 0. Right? I will accept either approach if you choose to take the approach of graphing it on your exam. You certainly may do so. You can either hand sketch out the graph, you can take a picture of it on your calculator and attach it to your exam. However you want to prove that that's what you did, you can just look at it. And if you're that good to know what it is by looking at it, I'm okay with that. If you don't give me work though, and you screwed up a little bit, I can't give you any points, okay? I did make sure for some of you for your quizzes, and when I graded the one exam already, I went through and I looked at the process. If the process was 100% correct, but there was just one small math error, a simple addition or subtraction in the beginning led to an incorrect answer at the end, I gave basically the vast majority of the points for that problem. Okay. I'm really, really good at partial credit, because what I care about isn't so much what is the answer at the end of the day. What I really care about is that you understand the process and you understand the concept. If you make a small math error, I know that all you did was subtract or add wrong. And subtracting and adding wrong should not take 5 points away from you. Okay? All right. Any questions on this type of problem? Okay. So for number 5, just for the purposes of the recording, I will do a really quick sketch of both of them. I believe one was a cubic. Okay, so one kind of looked like that. And we'll just say it's on the XY plane. And then the other one looked something like this. Okay. Probably not exact because I don't have my copy in front of me at the moment. I'm looking at all your wonderful faces. So what is going on there? Do we have a function here? Do we not have a function? These are obviously two different, whatever these are, they're two different. So tell me about them.
The one on the left is a function because it passes the vertical line test, but the other doesn't.
Okay, so function, function. Okay, so when you can't remember how to spell a word, you say yes and no, and this is because it passes the vertical line test, and this is because it fails. Okay. That's truly how easy the problem is on the exam. You either say yes or no, and if it's either, you explain if it passes or if it fails. That's it. That's all you have to do, and you get all your points for that problem. That's simple. Okay? Did not try to break the memory brains on that one. All right. We good with this? Any questions on it at all? Because now is the time to ask me. Okay. The other thing I should remind you guys is I also give you the chance to earn back points. So if you turn in your exam and I grade it and you don't like really what you got, if you make your corrections, I give you back half the points that you missed, as long as your corrections are perfect. Okay? I think it's a pretty fair system. All right, so again, for the sake of the video, we have kind of like something like that, if I'm recalling correctly. And this is at -3, 0, and this is at like 1, 4. Okay, so if we were to do the domain and range, what would we be doing here? How would we figure it out? Obviously go based on your drawing and not the thing that looks like the Loch Ness monster or a worm that I drew on the board.
Isn't domain just like your x values, so you can just take your x values and then write them in, and then the range is the y?
Yep, but what's the one thing you guys have to remember when doing domain and range? What do you have to look at? And we might not have specifically talked about it in class. What do you notice about these 2 points?
Would it be like with inequalities because the one is like an open circle and the other one is closed?
Yep. And the way we work that is, so Cody is 100% right in that we're going to look at our x's and our y's. So we're going to have -3 to 1, and we're going to have 0. Oh, well, that's a -4. My apologies. So I guess technically we're going to have -4 to 0. But what are we going to do for those opened and closed options? How are we going to let people know that they're opened and closed? Was anyone able to catch on to it when you were doing your Pearson?
And there's like a line or no line under like the symbol you're drawing when like when I was doing it, there was for like the inequality symbol, there would either be a line under it if the circle was like shaded in, and then no line if it was an open circle.
Yes, that is with our inequalities. So to translate it for domain and range, what we do is when it's an open circle, we leave a parenthesis. And when it is included or a closed circle, we use a square bracket. And that is how we make the difference when we're talking about this kind of stuff.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
So on that's what I was doing like on Pearson, but it said it wasn't correct because you had to do the whole inequality thing, which I never did before, so I was really confused. So on the exam, if we do that, if we did like the parenthesis thing, will it mark it wrong?
I would be the one marking it.
Okay, so we can do that on the exam.
Yeah, as long as you in some way show me what you feel the domain and range is, and I feel that it's reflective either equivalently, as long as it's equivalent to me, then I'm going to give you the points. The equality version of this would have been to do -3 less than x greater than or equal to 1. Right? Are my arrows the right way? I'm pretty sure they are. And then the other way would be -4 greater than or equal to y, 0. Okay?
All right. Yeah, I was just because like I did the parentheses the first time and I got it wrong and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. No worries. I would take either. The other thing I want to remind you guys about is that for domain and range, you can also sometimes you can also be questioned about if it includes or approaches positive or negative infinity. And in order for you guys to know that, you wouldn't be given kind of like this closed area here. You would be given an actual continuated function. Does that make sense to you? Like there's not going to be a starting or stopping point. There could be a start point or there could be an end point, but to include infinity, you have to have at some point something that is going towards infinity. If that is the situation, you never use square brackets with infinity. It is always an open parenthesis. Okay? Can any of you tell me what infinity truly is? Because any number that you can come up with, I guarantee you I can get a bigger one because I'm always going to say, well, what happens when you add 1? And then you add 1. Because infinity is exactly what it says. It never ends. Okay? Any other questions on domain and range?
I have a question.
Sure.
For the range, can you flip it to be like parentheses 0, comma -4 bracket, or does it have to be like in specific order of like the value?
So typically the way it works is numerically left to right, least to greatest. The only reason why I say that is because if you were to translate it like this, if you had it flipped, then you would translate it, you could potentially translate it wrong in your head, and then you could get it wrong that way. In terms of would I mark it wrong for you on the test? Probably not. I would give it to you. But what I would do is I would give you a feedback of, remember in the future, you want to go lowest number to highest number so you can do a proper translation. But I'm not going to take points off of you. Okay? All right. Okay. All right, so for number 7, we're given a function and we have to plug in 3. And just to review what that function is, it's x plus 5 over 5x minus 12. Okay, so what are we gonna do?
Are you gonna substitute 3 for x?
Yep. So we're gonna put in 3 in both spots. Okay, and I'm gonna let you guys simplify that. Okay. So obviously I won't insult anyone's intelligence with 3 plus 5 is gonna give us 8. And then we'll have 5 times 3, which is
15.
Okay. So then we get an evaluation of 8 over. Did I write my problem down wrong? No, I didn't. Okay. 8 over 3. Right. So f of 3 is equal to 8 over 3. Now when you do it on the exam, it's probably going to come out nicer. Like I said, I truly made this up so that you guys could have something to reference for your exam. Because I typically allow for if you have me in class in the future, I typically allow for a note card on exams, and then for the final I allow for a large sheet of paper because I just don't feel like you need to have root memorization to pass a concept. Okay. Any questions on a problem like this? Okay. All right, so I think it's 11 and 12 that I have. All right, so since it's 11:50, I know we have like, what, 40 minutes, right, left? Okay, we should be good. Just somebody help me keep an eye on the time so I definitely go over any problems that are harder for you before class ends. And then if you want, I will also upload my answer key solutions, whatever you want to call them. It's up to you. It's pretty messy, but I'll upload them if you want them. The other thing I can do is I can just upload answers so you can know if you got it right or not, but then maybe not have the exact step-by-step so you can keep working at it. Or I can just, not put it up, whatever you guys want me to do. And then what else did I want to say? Oh, Wednesday, just so that we don't run out of time and I don't lose people at the end. Wednesday, it's up to you. We can either have it for last minute questions, or if you guys feel ready, what I was going to do is give you Wednesday for doing chapter 3 homework and quiz and starting your exam because it's due. Hopefully you'll be able to turn it in on Friday. So you wouldn't have to physically come to class if you wanted to have the time to do that. So don't think about it or give me answers right now, but just have it in the back of your mind. Okay, so for number 8, we have 2x plus 3y equals 4. And then I'm going to leave some space, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Typically, when you have a system of equations, they're written one on top of each other. But if you notice with your number 8 directions, they want you to solve this using the calculator. Okay, so that's either going to be the calculator that you got for this course, or it's going to be Desmos. So if you use Desmos, I think you still have to put it in y equals mx plus b. I could be wrong. It might be smart enough to know that what you want it to do. But regardless, we're going to practice in solving it for y equals mx plus b. So for this situation, I'm going to call this y1 and this y2. So when we're done, we'll have our 2 different lines. So what's the first thing we want to do to solve for y?
Do you want it by itself?
We do want it by itself. So what are we going to move over to the right-hand side?
2x.
Yep. So we're going to subtract 2x and subtract 2x. So then 3y1 equals, I'm going to put the x in the front. So then we can have it more easily set up into our form. And then we're going to divide by 3 everywhere. So we'll have y sub 1 is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 4/3. Again, if you wanted to have it as a decimal, you could. I highly suggest for putting it in the calculator that you use parentheses and you keep them as fractions. All right, so that's equation number 1. Equation number 2, we're going to use the same process. And you'll notice when we divide here, all the signs are going to change, which is very nice. Okay, so again, I would use your parentheses. When you plug this into the calculator, you have line 1. You then hit enter and you're going to put in line 2. When you do that and you hit graph, you're going to end up with an intersection on your calculator. Does anyone need me to go over the steps to then find your intersection point?
Yeah, could you go over that?
Okay, so if you're using a typical, I believe this is a TI-84 Plus, it is. But if you're using the TI-83s, pretty much anything in the TI series, you should be able to follow these steps. Once you have them into your calculator, your 2 lines, you're then going to hit the second button and trace, which gets you to the menu calculate. So, you're going to input your lines, input y1 and y2. Then you'll hit second trace. That brings up the calculate menu. Then you'll go down and click 5 for intersect. Okay. Once you select 5, you will go back to your function. It'll have you do one curve, which is just the line. It'll have you do the second curve, which you have to make sure you're on the second line. And then it'll ask you for a guess. Now, 99.9% of the time, when it asks you for a guess, you can just ignore that and hit enter. It'll get you to the answer. If If you want to try and eyeball it and see if you can get super, super close and give yourself a gold star for the day, you can try and get super close. It doesn't really matter where that's at. The computer's going to give you the correct answer. When you do that for this problem, you should get an intersection point of what I rounded to negative 2.2 and 2.8. Okay. If you need us to go over that a little bit more in detail, email me and I can set up a private Zoom and we can go over as many of those problems as you need me to. But it should be pretty okay if you follow those quick steps. There's also YouTube. So, and if you have a different kind of calculator, I am probably going to send you to YouTube anyway, because I don't have your calculator. Okay, any questions on this process? Please go ahead and ask them, because chances are if you have them, someone else does too.
So you said about first putting in the L1 and L2, so that L1 and L2, that would be in like the stat, and then like,
No. You want to use Y1 and Y2. So you go to Y equals.
gotcha. So that would just be like the Y1, Y2, and like plot 1.
Right. Ignore the
All right.
plot. Ignore the plot for right now. And for anyone that was kind of a little bit worried, concerned with chapter 2, like those big long questions, I don't believe any of those questions are on the exam. I kind of don't even know why chapter 2 is really in the exam title, because I don't remember what's from it. But hopefully that will, your review should be very, very close to what your exam looks like. Okay. If you feel like it's not, you'll definitely want to let me know so that I know to change it. But I basically had it in front of me when I made your review. Okay. All right. We good to move on to number 9? Okay, cool. And again, I will apologize because I made these questions up. I cannot clearly just give you the exam. They're not perfect, but I guess they're better than not having a review at all. Okay, and for this one, you're using substitution. Okay. So if we're solving by substitution, what do you think the easiest is going to be there? What's the best step for you to take?
Substitute negative for x for y into the second equation.
Yep. We're going to write the whole thing in terms of x. So we're going to sub right into there. So negative 8x minus 4x is equal to negative 20. Okay. We can then combine your left-hand side. So negative 4 and negative 8 are going to give us what?
Negative 12.
12.
Yep. So we're going to have negative 12x equals negative 20. We're going to divide both sides by negative 12. And we're going to end up with a positive 20 over 12. But then it actually reduces. You could leave it like that. I will not mark you wrong. You're just going to end up getting a bigger equivalent answer. So if we bring it all the way down, 20 and 12 share what in common?
4.
4, good job. Both of you. Okay, so since there's a 4 in both, 20 divided by 4 will give us a 5. 12 divided by 4 will give us a 3. So we actually want to use 5/3 And we're going to just do that. What with it? Where are we going to plug it back into?
The first
Negative
equation.
4x.
Very good. Yep. We're going to plug it back into the first equation. So negative 4 times 5/3. You're just going to go ahead and multiply the tops, which are negative 4 times a 5. So your complete answer is going to be 5/3, comma, negative 20/3. Oops. And you definitely want to use parentheses. Now, I would not say, I cannot tell you that 100% of the time you will have the same denominators. But because I obviously have not worked every single problem out there that has fractions and you have to solve to find a point. But I would say it's a very good indication that you have the right answer if you have the same denominators. Okay. I cannot recall because I have so many numbers going on in my head right now. If your problem on the test has fractions, but if it is, just don't be scared. Okay. Just do the problem to the best of your ability. What's up? That's a stretch. Okay. All right. Cool deal. All right, are we good with number 9? We're good with substituting. Okay.
How can we put a decimal into a fraction on the TI-84?
If you have the decimal currently on the, wait, you want to go from decimal to fraction?
Yeah, because when I try solving, it puts into like a decimal, so I just want to see like how to get that into like a fraction.
Okay, if it's currently on your screen, you want to select the math button. And when you hit math, the first thing that it should give you should be an arrow fraction or an arrow frac. Click on that and it should immediately give it to you as a fraction.
All right, cool, that worked. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I will, obviously, if you do have a fraction or if you have decimals, no matter what my answer key says, I will make sure that it's equivalent. As long as it's equivalent and you've rounded to a degree of simplicity that makes sense, I will give you all the points, okay? Primarily, I'm looking at the process. Does anyone need me to cover or re-go over elimination method? Otherwise, we're going to just be doing a third solving of a system. Now, does anyone remember what I told you in class when it came to systems of equations? What did I tell you? If you really had one way that you preferred over another method, what was my little hint to you if you had to solve it one way versus another? So most of the time, a system of equations can be solved any of the 3 methods, okay? You can use substitution, graphing, or elimination. It's just that sometimes it's going to be set up so that it's a lot nicer to be solved in one of those particular ways. But you could, in theory, do any of them any of the ways. All right? Do you guys need the elimination method, or are you good? Okay, I'm going to assume that you're good. If you need it, just email me and I can either walk you through it or I can send you the steps that I used. All right. Okay, so for number 12, we have a movie theater selling tickets for $8 each. Okay. So, you guys tell me, do you want X to be $8 or Y to be $8? It doesn't matter to me. I don't really care. I'm just going to go with X is equal to 8. So X is equal to $8. Y then is going to be equal to what?
$6.
And we found that because there was a $2 discount. Now, these are what are considered your let statement. Okay. That was the thing that was missing on my teacher notes. And I don't really know why it was missing, but it was, so I apologize. Okay. So we have to figure out our two equations. And the rest of the statement says, one evening the theater sold 525 tickets and took in 3,580 in revenue. How many of each type of ticket were sold? So, how do we find our total number of tickets? What's that equation going to look like?
Would it be x plus y equals 525?
Perfect. Yep. So we're going to have x plus y equals 525. And then what do you think as a business person, if we put ourselves in the place of the manager for this theater, what do you think would be our second equation?
X plus 6y equals.
Yep, we're going to have x plus 6y, 8x plus 6y equals your total revenue, right? And that's 3,580. Okay, so what are you guys thinking? What would your approach be? So we have three methods available to us, right? We can use substitution, graphing, or elimination. The only reason why I wouldn't do substitution in this case is because look at how big our numbers are. Our numbers are pretty big, right? So we can probably do elimination and then we'd be working with smaller numbers, okay? So we could either multiply by -8 or we can multiply the top by -6. What do you think I'm gonna pick?
-8.
Right, because it's working with smaller numbers. So we're gonna multiply everything by negative. I'm gonna multiply by -6. You guys can multiply by whatever you want to multiply by. But if I use -6, then I'm dealing with smaller numbers. Negative 3150. And I apologize that my numbers aren't lining up super nice. The y's cancel. We have 2x. And then our money amount is going to be 430. And then we just have to divide both sides by 2. So x is what? How many tickets are we selling at $8?
215.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And to get the y, how do you figure that one out?
Substitute 215 into an equation.
We're actually going to plug it into here. So you'll do 525 minus 215, and that's going to give you 310. So 310 tickets at $6. And if you wanted to go back through and check, which I might give you bonus points if you do it on your exam, if you check and you take 215 and 310 and plug it into both equations, you should get true answers for both. Okay? Do not have to. I'm not telling you that you must do it. But if you do it, then you know that you actually have it 100% right. And I might end up giving bonus. You never know. I do bonus quite a lot. Okay. Any questions on this one? I figured it would be one of the ones that you guys would definitely want to see. It's definitely on your test. There is definitely if it's not dealing with tickets, it's dealing with something similar. Okay, any questions on it? Right. If you don't have any questions on it, I'm gonna keep going because I don't want us to run out of time, but you can absolutely get a hold of me and I will answer almost anything as long as it is not, can you give me the answer for this test question? So we have a couple of different inequality questions. Do you just want me to work on the combo one, or do you want to see both of them? I'm just trying to think of time. I might be able to get everything done.
You could do both.
I'll do both? Okay. So, this is... Was I wrong on my last number? I might have been wrong on my last number. It should have maybe been 11 and not 12. So I guess I'll just ignore numbers from now. So here's your inequality. 4 times x plus 1. And then 2x plus 3. All right, first steps first. We're going to go ahead and distribute like we did with the earlier problems. All right, and then the next step is to do what? We want to keep the x on what side of the inequality? The left or the right?
The left.
Yes, if we keep it on the left, then we can use the little arrow as our guide. So we're going to subtract 2x on both sides, and you can go ahead and subtract 4. These 4's cancel, these 2's cancel. You get 2x, bring down your sign, minus 4. Divide both sides by 2. And then if we were to draw it on a number line, would we have it as an open or a closed circle?
Open.
Open. Very good. Be open, and then we shade to the left. How do I know that I'm shading to the left? What did I look at?
Your number line, it's going, well, it's going to be a negative.
Right. Look at this arrowhead. If you look up into the answer, it tells you which direction to shade, as long as your variable is left on the left. If you put it on the right, you will get it flip-flopped every time. Okay. Hopefully everybody has that. Right? Okay. All right. And I'll fix my numbering again. This is 13. Okay, so we have negative 27, 3x minus 3, and 15. Kind of looks a little gross. So what do you think you're going to do with it?
Are you gonna get x alone?
You want X alone, and it's going to stay in the middle. So what I'm going to tell you is, remember way back when they were teaching you how to balance equations for the very first time? Whatever you do on one side is what they typically tell you to do on another side. So you kind of have to imagine for this case that instead of just having two sides of your teeter-totter, you're also standing directly in the middle of your teeter-totter. Okay? So if you do something here, you have to do it to both sides, or else your teeter-totter people are not going to be happy with you. Negative 24. Okay, so that is how you do the adding, and then we're just going to go ahead and we're going to divide all sides. So we're going to end up with a solution of negative 8 x and 6. And then we can actually translate that directly to the number line. And if you notice, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to my number line. I do not sit there and type in or draw in every single number. I only care about the ones that I care about. And then I shove 0 in the middle so you have some kind of idea of where the negatives and positive change. That is completely fine with me. If you end up having a bigger, a higher math class in the future, they might want to see more, but I don't really care. Okay, so what's our circles going to look like? What are we going to have?
Close.
Closed where?
I don't know.
Okay.
So when you start at the -8, you would do the closed circle, and
Mm-hmm.
like Joseph said, and then moving towards the +6, you would draw the line, and then it would be an open circle.
Yep. Very good. Let me
Thank you,
ask
Cody.
you guys a question. Very good. Awesome. So I'll finish this answer, and then I want you guys to answer me a question. And what you're going to see is exactly why we want the variable on the left-hand side. The variable here is in the middle, right? Which means for our x, it's on the left, but for your -8, it's where? It's on the right, right? Because it sits in the middle. So that's why you can use the arrow rule with your 6, but you have to use the opposite with your 8. Make sense? Okay, that's why I like keeping it on the left. The other thing I'm going to tell you is I want you to remember, if you divide by a negative and you're dealing with an inequality, what happens? Has anyone?
The symbol flips.
The symbol flips. Absolutely. Please, 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 please remember that. Okay. So we have 14, 15, 16, and 17 left. All right. I will tell you that 16 we kind of already talked about in the beginning. So let me know if you need to talk about it again when we get to it, but you probably will be fine. I will go ahead and show you how to do the graph of the inequality. Oh, also, do you guys remember whenever we were talking about in class about inequalities, and I said that I really have a hard time remembering what someone wants, like in the sense of like if they want the interval notation, if they just want the inequality, if they want, whatever. If you don't know what I want on the test, just give it all to me, and I'll probably end up just giving you bonus points. But at least if you give me all of it, then you have all your bases covered. Okay. So I just hand drew this, and I did it pretty lazy, I'm not gonna lie. So the first place you want to go to is your y-intercept. Where is that at? for this problem? Blaine, if you're talking to us, you're on mute, but
Oh, +4.
very good. Okay, so we're gonna go to 4, and then to do our slope, I chose to go down, so I went down 3 and to the right 5. So, like I said, I just kind of did it pretty easy peasy style. The next major point we want to look at is what's up with our inequality? Do we have an equal to part there? Is there a line underneath it? No, if there's no line underneath it, you have to give it some lines. And by that, I mean, you just give it some dashes. You do not give it a solid line. Okay. And the next thing you need here, very, 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 very important. You will probably shade on the wrong side if you forget about it. Because, I mean, let's be real, inequalities are a 50-50 shot, right? So if you don't do a test point, you're half the time gonna get it right. So you'll just pick a side. But let's get it right every time. So we're gonna pick a test point. The test point that I think is the absolute best one to use is 0, 0. When can you not use 0, 0 as a test point?
If it's on the line.
Very good. If it's on the line, you cannot use it. But in this case, we do not have 0, 0 included on our line, so we can use it. So the question is 0 greater than 4? Is that true or false?
False.
False. Okay, so since it is false, that means we have to shade opposite. So if 0, 0 is down here, we are shading up here. Okay? That's it for that one.
So you can check that every time by just using like your origin point.
Unless it sits on the line.
Gotcha.
If 0, 0 is included, you have to use another point further from the line. But it's the same no matter what. You test your point. If your point is true, you shade with the point. So your point will be included. If your point is false, you shade opposite. Okay? If you follow that technique, you will not get it wrong unless you mess up the line itself. But I'll still probably give you points for shading in the right region. See, I just find ways to throw points at you. Put the work down and you'll probably get the points. All right. So number 15, it gives you an equation and a point and you have to find a parallel line. Number 16, it gives you a pair of points and you have to talk about the slope. And number 17, it gives you another word problem. Do you guys want me to skip to the word problem or do you want me to go over the parallel lines? Excuse me. What is your preference? I can do all 3 of them, but you might have to stay a few minutes later. So just let me know if you want to do all 3. It really doesn't bother me. How about for my sake and for the sake of the folks that might watch the video, we'll do all 3. Okay? All right, so we have given to us the line y equals -5x plus 12 and the point 3, -6. Okay? And we want to find y parallel. Okay? So to find y parallel, we need slope parallel and then we need slope or the intercept for it. So what's the slope in this case? What's our current slope?
-5.
Very good. So then our slope parallel is going to be what?
-5.
Exactly. Okay. So then now we just have to find our intercept that goes along with it. So we're just going to shove in our point. So -6 equals -5 times 3 plus b parallel. So -15 So what is your b parallel in this case?
Nine.
And then if we were to find our parallel line, it's just going to be -5x plus 9. If you drew this line and this line on your graph, you would see that they are in fact parallel. You know they're parallel because they have the same slope and different y-intercepts. Okay. Any questions on that? You will have a problem practically exactly like this. There's your big major hint. In fact, if you take your exam and you think the review doesn't look like it, you're probably printed the wrong exam. Okay. Any questions? Nope. Cool. Right. 16 should be pretty quick and easy. We have -8 comma -4 and -8 comma 0. We've already discussed in this review what our slope is. So then what goes where?
Just y2 minus y1.
Yep. Okay. So our y's, so 0 plus 4, -8 plus 8. Oh no, what do you realize? What does that mean? Did I do it wrong? I must have done it wrong. It does not compute. If I put that in the calculator, it yells at me. I've failed the problem. I don't know what to do.
Wouldn't it just be undefined?
Yes, it's the undefined slope. And if it's undefined and we needed to tell me that your slope is undefined, what else do you think you need to tell me? What can you tell me about the line itself? Is it going to be positive, negative?
It would just be a vertical line, wouldn't it?
Yes. Okay. Please pay attention on your exam. You might have a vertical, you might have a horizontal. Don't get them confused. If you get them confused, use Google to make sure you don't get them confused.
I gotta quit. Why is it a +4 for the top y line?
Because I started with 0. So
Alright.
0 minus a -4 will give us a +4.
Alright.
If you did it the other way, it would be a -4. But either way, anything divided by 0 is going to give you the undefined slope. Okay. All right, we just have 17 left. Hopefully you guys can stay with us and finish. Okay, so if you look at 17, what's 17 giving you there? It gives you a what? $17 gives you a table. Okay, I'm not going to draw it out, but I want you guys to give me 2 points off of that table that you think would help us. 1 point in particular will definitely help you. Which point is that?
0.46.
Perfect. So we're going to take 0.46. And if you realize that's actually your b, so right now we have y equals mx plus 46. And then give me another point. I use the point 410, but you guys can use whatever you want. We'll stick with 410. Okay, so we have to find our slope. So that's going to be 46 minus 10 over 0 minus 4. So 36 over a negative 4. So your slope is negative 9. So y equals negative 9x plus 46. That's it. That's how they do it. You have any questions for me going into your exam? Okay, so a few things about the process. I don't want too many more people bouncing off before we talk about it. You need to print out your exam, or you can just give it to me. If you don't have an option to print, you can write it on regular paper. You can write it on that really cool iPad thing that you wrote it on. That was super neat. You don't need to give me the problems. I have all the problems. You can just give me your answer sheet, okay? I need to see every possible piece of work you think you could give me, because the more work you give me, the more points I can give you, okay? Please, please, please don't skip a problem or leave it blank. If you really have no idea how to start it, email me. I will give you a little hint. It might come to you in the form of a video that you'll have to push play, but it'll be a hint nonetheless, okay? Please don't give me a blank paper. If you give me a blank paper, I have to give you the easiest grade in the world, and that's a big old 0. And even though it's easy for me to put in the grade, it hurts my heart, okay? It really destroys my soul, and I feel like I should just play video games. I don't mind playing video games, but I don't get paid for that. I wish I could. I've tried for a very long time. I'm just not nearly as successful at playing video games as I am at teaching math. Go figure. Okay. Any questions for me though? Email me your exam once you have it done. Try to get it in by Friday. I'd love to get you your feedback by then. And then that also gives you the whole weekend to make any corrections. All right. What's up, Joe?
So do you want us to take pictures? Like if we print it out, you want us to take pictures and then email it to you that
Yep.
way, or okay?
Yep. If you have a smartphone, you can sometimes download what's called a simple scanner. So that way, when you take the photos, you can take them all together and it's in one file. And then you can download it as a PDF and you just shoot it to me that way. It's really nice that way. But I will also take photos as well.
Okay, thank you.
And I will open up all of your stuff on Pearson. Make sure it's all open for you, Joe. And as you get quizzes done, just let me know so I can go in and check that I can't get you more points out of them. Other than that, I think that's it. No class on Wednesday unless you guys feel you might need it. I would rather give you the opportunity to use the time to take your exam and do chapter 3. Does that sound like a good plan for everybody? Okay. That being the case, try really hard to get everything done so I don't have to give you an extension on chapter 3. I will put chapter 3 to be due by Friday. Let's say chapter 3 is due by Friday. Try to get me your exam by Saturday, okay? Because then that way I can get you your exams back hopefully before Monday. All right? If you have any questions, please, please, please email me. I'm here for you. I try to respond. You can ask Sam. I think I sent him an email back at like almost midnight last night. All right. You guys have a lovely week. Yeah. What's up?
I just want to talk to you afterwards.
Okay. I'll stop recording.